Prominent members of the Democratic Party are voicing their support for Joe Biden's historic pick as a running mate. Senator Kamala Harris really gained a lot of support from moderate voters after launching her candidacy for president early last year. But as the party continues its ideological shift a little bit to the left among voters, the choice may seem like another defeat for those hoping for a more liberal or progressive vice president. For more on this, let us bring in Nadia Ahmad. She's an associate professor at Barry University School of Law and a DNC delegate for Florida, and also the co-founder of the Muslim Delegates and Allies Coalition. I really appreciate you talking to us. So let's sort of dig into this. The organization that you are with actually wrote a letter rejecting Susan Rice as a potential vice president. What are your feelings now on Kamala Harris?
So the letter that we had written regarding Susan Rice, it was quoted in the Washington Post. And with the selection of Kamala Harris, we are excited to have her as an ally in our coalition, in the sense that she's been working to fight hate crimes against Muslims for a good part of her career. And so that resonates with us. And also the fact that she is a South Asian woman, a Black woman. It's a really defining moment for our country to have her as a part of as the vice presidential pick.
So you actually wrote an op-ed in the Tampa Bay Times, right? You wrote an opinion piece, and you argued, you sort of a bit of a warning that it's not enough for the Democratic Party to rely on voters to be so fearful of a second Trump term that they sort of vote for the Democrats. What sort of language do you want to see come out of this Biden-Harris campaign moving forward?
So I think there has to be more of a leftward shift within the party, the same way that the Trump campaign capitalized on having reaching out to that strong Tea Party base. I think the Democrats cannot rely upon continuing their establishment politics as usual. I'm in Florida. We lost in 2016. We also lost the governor's race in 2018 as Democrats. And so unless we really can galvanize our base as progressives, we are very fearful of another Trump presidency. And to the extent that the Biden and Harris campaign can work to do more outreach to our communities. We put together these platform recommendations. About 16 suggestions were adopted by the Democratic Party, but we want to see more movement, and we want to see less of a concern with escalation of military violence. We want to really see more movement on issues of climate. We want to see Biden really make priority for climate change adaptation. That's really essential. And where we get the money for that is from defunding of the military and from defunding of the police force. And so our movement as Muslim delegates really aligns not only with our own goals, but also with broader coalitions of the Black Lives Matters movement, as well as with youth movements, which are key constituencies for the Democrats to capture for a win in 2020.
What's your take on the work that the Democratic Party, or lack of work the Democratic Party has done with Muslim voters in the past? Currently, are you seeing any differences? And can you just give us a sense of the kind of impact that, Muslim voters can have, particularly in some of these swing states?
Right. And so I think the story of yesterday, especially for Muslim Americans, was the win of Representative Ilhan Omar, in the sense that she was going to be going back to Congress again in 2021. And so I see more movement and more outreach to Muslim voters, but it's not exactly the type of outreach that we want, in the sense that these are policies that are being provided for us, and we want more movement on issues relating to surveillance. We don't just want an end to the Muslim ban. We want to have actual engagement on foreign policy issues, whether it relates to Kashmir, Palestine, as well as the refugee populations in Burma and the Rohingya. So I think we really can see more movement on foreign policy as well as domestic issues as well.
How do Muslims typically vote, or is that even a question? Can you say typically vote in this country?
So yeah, I think that's a really good point, because Historically, even going back to 2000, 20 years ago, the Muslim voters were voting for George Bush because he had stated that he was going to get rid of secret evidence, and so they really went out and voted for him. And if you look at the Muslim vote, is really around 1.1, 1.2 million voters nationwide. But in key swing states, that becomes very critical. And so, with respect to these specific issues, I think that more engagement can really occur, and for that to happen, it has to be where we are met on our terms. And so the Muslim vote, as well as the Black vote, has been taken for granted by the Democratic Party. They know that we don't have anywhere to turn to now, especially with the way the current rhetoric is within the Republican Party. And we really need to get out the vote within our key constituencies among Muslims as well as Blacks and youth voters. And to do that, there has to be more of a leftward shift for progressive policies within the establishment Democrats.
So your organization, the Muslim Delegates and Allies Coalition, organizing two events leading up to the Democratic National Convention. I imagine that what you just expressed to me is something that you're hoping to come out of those events. But, what's the messaging that you're trying to send out? What are your top priorities?
So our number one priority is really to make sure that Joe Biden is in the White House in 2021. In that sense, like our community is more invested in more attack than any other community, in the sense that that Trump really rose to the White House on our backs. And so we want a Joe Biden presidency, but we also want to make sure that Joe Biden doesn't take Muslim voters for granted, as Democrats have done so in the past. And the way to do that is to adopt our platform recommendations within the campaign. I think that could be a really a good way to really galvanize Muslim voters as well as other key constituencies, especially in the South.
Nadia Ahmad, thank you so much.
Thank you.